Welcome to this Saturday travel and history tip, and this is part 3 of The Grams. If you have not watched Parts 1 and Part 2, I want to encourage you to do so, as you will not want to miss anything about these grand hotels and how it is part of our tremendous American history during the 1800s and the 1900s, continuing on into the 21st century. However, these two grand hotels that we will be visiting today are left in ruins, and we want to thank Joel and Bonnie White for sharing these wonderful sites with us. And if you haven't watched our nuggets on Joel White, American Grit in New Hampshire, I certainly want to encourage you to do so. There are nuggets 180, 181, 182, and 183. But continuing on, Cherry Mountain and Womback Station, Jefferson, New Hampshire. This watercolor is from back in the day when the Womback House in Jefferson Hill had its humble beginnings and what was the first portion of what would eventually become the great Wambeck Hotel, which was erected by Benjamin Plaisted in 1860 after strong urging of theologian and writer Thomas Starr King from 1863. This is the Womback House, Jefferson, New Hampshire, Maryland Plaisted Proprietors, advertising engraving from the Summer Excursionist of the Central Vermont Railroad Company in 1874. Plaisted had added a southeast wing on the right to his original hotel in 1865, responding to the increased number of visitors to Jefferson. The Womback and cottages at Jefferson in the White Mountains, as photographed here in 1905, are considered scenic gems of the White Mountains. This photo shows the full Womback complex in all its colonial revival grandeur. The new Womback Hotel and cottages at Jefferson circa 1920. This marvelous panorama depicts the main hotel with the affiliated Starr King, Plaisted, and Jefferson Hill houses, and several cottages behind. Here is a photo from circa 1920 of the main dining room of the Womback Hotel. This view, made of the dining room, has been expanded into the piazza area, and it shows an interesting combination of colonial revival architecture, detailing, and furnishings. And as I mentioned, that was the strong point of this particular book that Joel and Bonnie have on the grand hotels. This photograph is from 1980, after the destruction of the main hotel by fire in 1928. This building, formerly the Plaisted House, was the centerpiece of the remaining portion of the hotel complex until it was razed in 1980. Here is the Jefferson Hill House, called the Jefferson in Jefferson, New Hampshire, photographed in 1991 by this author. It was built beginning in 1872 as the Jefferson Hill House and was the last surviving hotel unit from the original Womback community before its demolition in 1993. As we parked our cars and went on our adventure, we came across this sign: Ancient ruins, archaeological resources, fossils, and historical remnants in the vicinity of this notice are fragile and irreplaceable. The Antiquities Act of 1906 and Archaeological Resources Protection Act of 1979 protect them for the benefit of all Americans. Enjoy, but do not destroy, your American heritage. That's a great way to say that. And here are some pictures of our visit to the ruins that day with Joel and Bonnie White. We found a frying pan, we found an oven, and we found these beautiful dishes. Well, they were once beautiful, I'm sure. Can you just imagine sitting in these grand hotels and having a luxurious meal on this beautiful china that was made by Mitchell Woodbury Company of Boston, Massachusetts? As we stood in this section, Joel explained what we were looking at.
So right here we have the floor joists. The pier, the pillars that held up the floor joists going across under the floor. And we got 2 rows of them in here.
And as we walked through other parts of the property, we found all types of ruins, even this old headboard. We walked across the street to what used to be the pool. It was actually sort of a large lake. It was concrete on 2 sides and just earthen on the other side. And Joel and Bonnie both remember swimming there as recently as 10 years ago. But as you can see now, it is in total disrepair. Next stop, Vermont. We had actually visited Brunswick Springs Hotel the day that we had gone to see the Guildhall Church. But I wanted to save the information information on the Brunswick Springs Hotel for the Grands. Even though this is not a New Hampshire Grand, this certainly was a grand hotel in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont with quite an interesting history. There were many grand hotels throughout northern Vermont and northern New Hampshire where people rode the railroads to go stay at these beautiful hotels. Most of this region had been logged and was clear-cut and was prairies and open meadows, and beautiful hotels were built, and only 3 of these remain: the Balsams Hotel, the Mountain View Grand, and the Mount Washington Hotel. This, the Brunswick Springs Hotel, was established because people went to go visit to drink for the health benefits of the minerals that came out of the springs. And here are some pictures from obscure Vermont of the Hotel Brunswick Springs. And this is a stereoscope photo, an old school type of photo. The history of the Brunswick Springs Hotel is actually quite interesting and something you might want to research. You can go find more information on Vermonter.com. But from this pond, you reach the pipes where the minerals used to flow. We had to walk up a set of stairs, and then we had to walk down another flight of stairs to the actual area where the pipes once flowed with a variety of minerals, such as magnesium, calcium, and arsenic.
Here we have where the magnesium came out, and there's 7 different minerals that come out all along here. So when people were sick, and here's where one pipe came, right here. One pipe here, there was another pipe here, and people were sick and the doctor told them they needed a certain mineral, they would have to come here and drink that mineral. Cool. So out of this area, there were 7 different minerals coming out of 7 different pipes.
Excellent.
Now, they had signs here and all around there, and this is where they would come and hold their cup and get the water that they were supposed to take. And that's why they had this little walkway here that's called rock.
At the end of the stream from the pipes, the water empties out into the Connecticut River, which is the boundary between New Hampshire and Vermont. After looking at this part of this exciting property, we went to go see what was left of the Grand Hotel. And as you can see, beavers are having a grand time building beaver dams to place on the pond. Joel took us around and explained all that he knew about what remained of this Grand Hotel.
So this is the cellar hole for the great big hotel that was here. And you can see where the steps came down. They went out of the steps here to come over to the spring. And further on, you can see where the boiler room was to heat this. You can see the pedestals in the middle where they had to hold up the hotel.
American history. Learn it. Love it. Appreciate it. Don't let them steal our history. Treasure our American history. And again, I want to remind you to go back and watch many of the Saturday travel and history tips that have been interwoven in this series on the Grands. Thank you.
Hey, Prince, look. Oh, boy. Oh, that's a good one.